Hi, welcome to Midwest Magic Cleaning. My name is Fungus Among Us, and today I'm going to be doing things a little bit differently in that you'll notice that I'm not doing a hoarder house right off the bat, and there's a very specific reason for that. It's important to know that I'm autistic in order to understand why I'm doing what I'm doing this week. So an unfortunate side effect of my area of autism is that I have panic attacks, especially if my schedule is interrupted too badly. So normally something can interrupt my schedule and it will just make my body tense up and my brain kind of, jolt with anxiety. But it's manageable. It's something I've lived with my whole life. I know how to handle it. When you start piling up a lot of different schedule changes and a lot of problems all at once, I'll go into full-blown panic attacks. Now, normally, those only last for a few minutes. I know they're going to ease up and we're good to go after they go away. This week was especially difficult, and I had one day in particular where I had panic attacks that lasted for several hours. And I'd like to explain how that happened and why that led to me waxing this floor that you're seeing right now. So when you're a small business owner and you're also trying to live like a normal family life, you very quickly realize that your problems are your problems. Your spouse's problems are your problems. Your kids' problems are your problems. Your business's problems, your clients' problems, and your employees' problems are all on your plate. Like, for instance, one of my employees had brakes go out on his car. We cannot really afford for him to skip those customers, so I'm just going to have to pay for his brakes, and we'll figure out a way to get even later. Meanwhile, the wife has got her own problems, and she needs to vent, and I need to be a good husband and listen at the very least, but also I'm dealing with my things and the business's things, and a client has a complaint that I need to deal with, and it just all keeps piling on, right? That's everyday life for everyone. And even that is enough to make just the average everyday person start to well up with anxiety. I understand that. That's not specific to autism by any means. That had been going on all week, and then my daughter got an art award, and she's at the end of her senior year in high school. So I wanted to attend that. For whatever reason, they decided instead of making that in the afternoon, the way they had in the past, the little award ceremony, they made it at 7 o'clock in the morning. Now, normally I get up at 8 so that I can be at clients' houses by 10. It gives me enough time for my medication to kick in, for my coffee to kick in, and all that, and I'm ready and functional and ready to go by 10 o'clock when I get to the client's house. In order to make it to the 7 o'clock ceremony, it meant I had to get up at 5:30 in the morning. So I'm getting up 2.5 hours earlier than normal. And that started out the very huge shift in my schedule, which was not great. Then I get to the ceremony, and just being around a large group of people is enough to put me into clench mode, where all your muscles clench up and your mind starts to get overloaded. So that added a little bit to it. There was a toddler who for 90 solid minutes never stopped talking and never stopped yelling and complaining, and that by itself is enough to send me into a panic attack because it's just one of those noises I can't handle, which is ironic because I raised 3 kids. Then the guy to my right, pardon my bluntness, but smelled like a beer fart the entire time. And then I'm 6'4", I'm sitting in these tiny little seats, and my knees are touching the seat in front of me, and I can't get comfortable, and I can't find room, and it's feeling claustrophobic. So by the time I get home, I've started to have panic attacks because of all the overstimulation and the problems with scheduling, and my day's just been thrown out of whack from what I'm regularly used to. Then my wife wants to talk about the problems she's had with some of her friends and coworkers, and it's too much, and I don't know how to say in a polite manner, I need complete silence for at least an hour. No TV, no nothing. I can't have anything else in my brain. There's no more room for anything. So if I tell her something like that, not only do I not know how to phrase it to where it's polite or at least cordial, but in my current condition while I'm having a panic attack, it's definitely going to come out as if I'm angry. So I just wait for her to wrap up, and then I just sit in silence and stare at a blank TV for as long as I can. That silence is how I can take something that is like a 10,000 piece jigsaw puzzle that's been dumped on the floor and stare at the pile until I start to find the pieces that fit and slowly put them together. Metaphorically, when it comes to like problems, I see problems as the same process. So the problems in my head are all jumbled up in these different pieces, and I know the solutions are easy, and that once I find them, it's good to just slot them into place, and it's easy. But the difficulty is in finding the correct pieces. So mentally, as I'm sitting in silence, the only thing that I'm doing is going over the problems that have been building up in my head, and one by one figuring out which piece goes to which section. The more pieces that I put into place, the less chaotic my mind feels, and the panic attacks start to subside. That took several hours. It was almost bedtime by the time everything finally calmed down, even with my regular medication and everything that I used to control those. Like, that wasn't enough to control that level of panic attack. But even with my medication and silence and my methods for dealing with these types of things, it was almost bedtime before it finally subsided. So the next day, I woke up and I started to go through all the things that I needed to do for the week with the business, with my relationship, with my house, with my employees and clients. And I finally realized you need a day to completely shut your brain down, to do nothing but just the most tedious, mind-numbing task that you can find. So I happen to have a friend who's got a really fancy, nice hardwood floor, and that hardwood floor has been losing moisture for quite a while. It's starting to dry up to the point to where it almost feels splintery, and they've tried a lot of things to try to restore it. Not really restore it, but to save it, and maybe like rejuvenate it. That's the word I'm looking for. So I offered to come over and use, there's like this beeswax type of, it's a wax and conditioner, and it's really easy to use. You basically just wipe it on, and then continue to wipe it until it thins out. So it's not really like a wax on, wax off Danielson sort of process. It's more just like wiping it down and massaging it into the wood. So I just went over there with a bucket full of rags, my camera, shut my brain down, and just wiped down this massive floor for several hours. And I'm telling you, that helped me out so much. I mean, my body was exhausted after that, and I'm still sore today, 24 hours later. But it put my mind at peace so well, and I needed that so bad. And then we get to Friday, which is today as I'm recording this, and that's the day where I usually set up a hoarder house to clean. And that's where you get my really big, crazy videos from. I usually clean those on Fridays and or Saturdays, and then Saturday night I come home and edit, narrate, upload, and the video goes live. So most of the time, well, every time, whenever you see one of my videos go live, I'm actually wrapping up the day I had just cleaned that day. So I pull 16-hour days whenever I do this in cleaning and editing. But then I realized that one day of shutting my brain down was not going to get to the core issue with my panic attacks and with my the mental problems that's been happening over the last week or so. Cleaning a hoarder house adds even more stimulation to what's already going on in there, because you're walking into a house that's nothing but chaos, and the visuals are really bad, the textures are bad, the smells are absolutely awful in a hoarder house. They've grown used to the smell, but you haven't. So you're walking in and it smells like either a sewage treatment plant or ammonia from pet urine or like a city dump. And I knew that walking into a hoarder house this weekend would have just added and compiled to the already stressful situation that was balling up in my head. So I finally made the decision that I'm going to wax this floor because it looks super cool. Plus you get some sweet shots of this sweet butt, baby. And then once I narrate and edit and do my thing on the video, I'm going to upload this, and then I'm going to turn off my phone, and I'm going to play Octopath Traveler 2 until I get all 8 characters to level 99. If you don't know what that game is, that's going to mean absolutely nothing to you. And if you do know what that game is, you're probably thinking, that's a lot of grinding. Yep, it's going to turn my brain off for the rest of the weekend. And I'm going to love it. Love it. So all that talking is just to say that everyone has a method to controlling panic attacks and extreme stress. It's just that some people haven't found it yet. And my personal way of doing that is finding something mind-numbing and repetitive and almost tedious to do, so that while I'm doing it, you let your mind wander where it wants to. And if your mind just naturally wants to try to solve problems while you're doing your task, let it. If your mind wants to think about what Magic the Gathering cards you'd like to have in your deck, let it. Let it do whatever it wants. Your mind is wandering in certain directions because it needs to. At least in my case, it's typically what it likes to do. So let your mind off its leash while you're doing your tedious task and just let it defragment. And that long list of problems that I gave you earlier, as in your problems are your problems, and your wife's problems are your problems, like that whole list, one thing that I really need to keep in mind, and I'd like you to keep in mind, is that if you're making a list of those things out, make sure that your problems are at the top of that list, because you can't help somebody else if you are broken. You can't fix a broken tool with another broken tool. You need one that's in proper working order in order to help mend the other things. This video, by the way, is often the type of video that I make for my members only section. Right now we have about 330 members, and all you have to do to join is look for the join button on my channel. If you can't find it, ask around and people can direct you. It's kind of bizarre trying to find it if you're using an Apple product, but there's lots of people who've had hiccups, and a simple Google search fixes it. It's $4.99 a month, so if you can't afford that, do not do it. It's just extra videos. I do one extra video per Wednesday, every Wednesday, and then I usually do a couple of extra posts here and there just to keep people up to date on what's going on in my life, and sometimes just some stupid things that I find throughout the week that I think are funny. I'll pass those along. But it's just an extra way to help support the channel. If you're a person who likes Patreon, I don't use that. This is YouTube's version of Patreon, so that's what I use. We also have 2 t-shirts that are finally for sale. There's a Suck It shirt and a Hey Look More Dishes shirt. Very soon we're going to have a shirt with Jason's face on it with the word filth below it in black block letters, and then we're going to have another shirt with Jason's face that says Team Jason with little hearts around his face. If you don't know who Jason is, well, that's your problem, not mine, son. He's filth. Filth is what he is. They call me calling Jason Filth Johnny back in Milwaukee. They're like, yo, man, is that calling Jason Filth Johnny? And they're like, I don't know. Here comes Jason. We're going to find out. Yep, that's definitely him. Anyway, we're also designing a Spin Kick shirt. We've got several of them coming. We got several designs, and we're not going to stop on the designs anytime soon. Every dumb catchphrase that I put on this channel is going to have a shirt in some fashion. I've also been asked about doing shirts with just our logo on it. I am going to do some of those, but I want to make sure that our logo is finalized beforehand, because the logos I use on the channel were made kind of quickly and just kind of placeholders. So I want to make sure that whatever we put on a shirt is finalized and we're able to say that's definitely our logo forever. Anyway, outside of that, we're on the road to 1 million subscribers. We've surpassed the 100,000. We're at about 140 to 145,000 right now. And if you haven't subscribed, if you could help us reach that 1 million goal, that would be awesome. I just want to see if we can't get that gold plaque, because how cool would that be? It would be 4. 4 cools is how much that would be on a scale of 1 to 9, no 8. 1 to 8, it would be a 4. I don't know how rating systems work, but it would be cool. Anyway, thanks for watching. Members, I'll see you on Wednesday. Everybody else, I will see you next Saturday. Please take care of yourself, take care of your mental health, take breaks where you need it, and have a super awesome week, or at the very least, an uneventful, mundane week. Later.